Hello everybody, and this video is probably going to be pretty short. I just wanted to talk about the difference between delta x versus dx. And the same is true for any variable, right? So delta y, wow, I cannot write today, versus dy, okay? So when we encounter these, it's always in the context of a function, so let me just draw a quick little curve here. Alright, now what we can do is, change my color here. If we consider 2 points, just any 2 points, there's a point here, here's a point here. Okay, the distance between these 2 points in the x direction, in other words, this distance right here, this is what we refer to as delta x. The change in the x coordinate, that is to say, x started here, x ended here, so the change is just this segment here. And likewise, the change in height, the y value started here, the y value ended up here. So we can call this the change in y, or delta y. Okay? And we've already had this discussion about what the derivative means. That is, if I take these two red points and bring them closer together, so if I bring this one here, and if I take this one and bring it down here, if I bring these closer together, then the size of delta x and delta y decrease. In other words, I'm going to write it down. If point 1 and point 2, just so you know what I'm talking about, here's point 1, here's point 2. If point 1 and point 2 are brought closer together, then delta x and delta y decrease. Okay? So that's the first thing to understand. If we bring these 2 points closer together, delta x and delta y will decrease. And now, just like we did in a previous video, we can do this forever and ever. We can bring point 1 and point 2 closer and closer and closer and closer and closer together. We could do that for the rest of our lives without actually having point 1 and point 2 touch. Okay? And so the thing that I'm trying to get across is this, is that, again, if we do this forever, then dx we can think of as this. The limit as delta x approaches 0 of delta x. Okay? This just means that the distance, the x distance between the 2 points, is getting smaller, 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 smaller forever without actually touching 0. Okay? And similarly, dy is the limit as delta y approaches 0 of delta y. Okay? So that's what dx and dy are. Okay? Dx and dy is simply what happens when delta x and delta y become so incredibly small that there's no way to measure it. And again, we have a special word for that. Dx is an infinitesimal quantity, and dy is also infinitesimal. Okay? Infinitesimal just means infinitely small, but not 0. Okay, so any type of d anything, dr, ds, dx, dy, just means a tiny, tiny sliver of x or y or whatever you're talking about, and you make that sliver smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller without actually making the gap zero. And that is the meaning of dx and dy, and that's really all I wanted to do in this video. So I'm going to call it